Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Think Rugby podcast. This week we're going to be reviewing this past weekend's games in both the Champions Cup and also the Challenge Cup. How are you, Zav?
I'm okay. Can't really complain, to be fair. What else do you want? Some massive upsets at the weekend. I mean, I guess our home nation team was in the semi-final, so fair play for that. Cracking rugby, some French flavour and show, and yeah, I was just really excited to watch some proper semi-final, proper knockout rugby for a fine change, and it was very, very fiercely competitive and close for some of those games as well for a long period of time. So, aye.
Good stuff. Well, I'm not going to name the podcast because obviously that's promoting our rivals, but I did take advantage of the offer for Premier Sports that they had this weekend. So I did manage to catch the games on Saturday via phone signal, just not in my cabin. I had to make the most of going up and into public and having my phone on mute, sadly. But no, I did manage to catch both the Bath, Edinburgh and Northampton, or most of the Northampton Leinster game before I was in the middle of the North Sea and lost signal. But we'll start with a big game that was not just for Saturday, but for the whole weekend. Leinster at the AVIVA facing old rivals Northampton. I mean, wow, what a great advert for the game.
You know something? I know like Northampton were 10-1 underdogs going into that. So how the betting works, whatever. So fair underdogs going in. I've not seen odds like that for quite a while. Especially, it was at the Aviva, so everything was going against him. Northampton, 7th in the Gallagher Premiership, Leinster top of the URC, respectively. Excuse me. But both teams have, both form-wise, bar that little blip against the Scarlets, both teams' forms have been pretty decent as of late. In my opinion, I think they'll be like the two most informed teams, or two most promising teams as well in a way. If you look at the squads, I backed this last week. Like it's like a lot of Ireland vs a lot of England, but it was honestly like bloody hell. Like you say, an advert for rugby. I really did not expect. I know in my prediction I said Northampton by 9 points. By saying it was a little bit of hope, and it was a bit of like a hipster's choice. Bloody hell though, they're only going to done it. I mean, a couple of things to mention. Freeman with his first half hat trick in a semi-final, that's near unheard of. You had, in my opinion, player of the year Pollock, playing absolutely out of his skin. And I know on the rugby pod, Jim Hamilton was saying it was Andy Good, one of the two. I think they both actually said and agreed that if Pollock
Stop promoting the rivals, Zav.
I'm not. I'm referencing them. So, another podcast mentioned that if Pollock had an absolute cracker of a game, then he'd probably be on the lines to it, and I couldn't agree more. I 100% couldn't agree more. The fact that he's only 20 years young and he was playing, I think, streaks above Josh van der Flier, and Josh van der Flier didn't have a bad game in the slightest, if you ask me. I think he was decent enough, but he was absolute streaks above anyone that on that park, in my opinion, apart from Finn Smith. And the reason I say that is because I think if Pollock wasn't playing that game, I think Finn Smith would have got man of the match by the performance he put on. And again, I said last week, I think Finn Smith's a better player than Prendergast just now, and I guess, in a way, proven right. A couple of things to back that case. Well, the main thing to back that case is defensively. Finn Smith's a lot more defensively sound. For example, that Henry Pollock try where I don't even think you could class it as an attempted tackle. It was just absolutely awful from Prendergast, schoolboy stuff. But so then the second example would be the kind of attacking game and also the kind of game structure. Like, Northampton seemed to answer a lot of questions that Leinster were throwing at them, whereas Leinster maybe struggled a little bit more. They got there in the end, but struggled, and it took a bit more time to kind of answer Northampton's attack and and defence, and how they're going to try counter that. And I feel that's a lot down to the fact that Leinster, they are very, very much a system-based team, which a system-based team is brilliant if the system's right. But what happens when the system isn't right and the defence is like countering your system? Then what do you do? And I just feel like Prendergast hasn't got the experience for one, but also hasn't been in a position really before to try turn a game by himself, being like the playmaker of the game, I say at fly half. And I just think him in the system, great, one of the best players on the park any day of the week. But when it does go wrong, it's like, okay, how do you adapt and what are you going to do to improvise and try to change the dynamic of a game? And I just think he's still lacking that quite big time.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think it would be a little bit unfair to say that Leinster were undone by their defensive system. I personally think that a lot of the players had an off day. I mean, the amount of tackles that they were making and like kind of positional awareness, for whatever reason, it was just not happening for them. Snyman for one of the tries or line breaks that Northampton had, I was just like, that is not like him. A
Could be
lot has
Pollock.
been made. Sorry?
It could have been Pollock's actually. I noticed that he missed the tackle. Again, it was just like a arm and reach.
A lot has been made of Leinster they've worked hard to get into these positions, and a lot of the time folk think, oh, we discussed it last week about how a semi-final or whatever potentially should be at a neutral venue. This is a semi-final at the Aviva, very, very close to the RDS Arena, and similar, it's the same city as where Croke Park is. They've sorted out their defence, arguably, until now, with Jacques Nienaber coming in. So you've effectively got the prodigal son of Rassi Erasmus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, I put it down to the players. I think the players have bottled it. I think this curse that there is within Leinster in the big European stage, and I will make no bones about it. At the start of the season, I didn't think Leinster would win Europe. I thought and still think that their priority would be the URC. However, the way in which they bossed Glasgow in the quarter-final, played in the round before that, but they put 50 odd points to nil.
It was like Quins or somebody, I think. The absolute.
Yeah, it was Quins. They completely fucking smashed Quins. Van de Fleer had an awesome game that day. Now I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. As much as Scotland, like rugby, have really struggled recently in the Six Nations, questions have to be asked of Leinster because that is like an unbelievable team, and they've been undone by a Northampton team that has been really struggling for form in the Premiership this season.
Yeah, like I say, Northampton has picked up a bit of form towards the end of the season, but at the same time, over the course of the season, it's been absolutely like miles off what they have been or what they could be. One thing I'm going to ask: Bowden Barrett, should he have started that game?
Yeah, quite simply, yeah. I don't understand why Leo Cullen didn't start him.
I was in shock. I mean, Henshaw's all right, but I mean, if you kind of look at the Ireland team, and I know I'm trying to compare Ireland and Leinster, but it's Bundy, Aki, and Ringrose in the centres. Surely, when you've got an international player the quality of Barrett, you start Barrett in a big game like that. Henshaw, okay, you could say experience, but at the same time, Barrett isn't an idiot. Barrett is probably like one of the most clued up rugby players, most versatile players you could ever have on your side. So, and the point of like signing Jordy Barrett.
The only player, when you put it like that, the only player that would potentially like be justified in dropping Jody Barrett for, in my opinion, would be James Lowe. No other back would have the firepower to be like, no, that he's better than Jody Barrett. Barrett must be on the bench. Nobody else in the backs is that good.
I would probably agree. Although I'd probably have Prendergast at 10 instead of him. But other than that, in the centre or backfield, yeah, I do tend to agree with you. And the fact, the reason they signed Barrett, they didn't sign Barrett just for a jolly. They've not signed him in a massive money contract just for fun. It was to win the bloody Champions Cup. Let's be brutally honest. They can't deny that. They can't turn around and say, no, that's not why. 100% is why. That's why they've got Snyman and got Barrett. But you know what? I'm not going to ramble on too much about Leinster because in the comments we got absolutely, I think it was more me, got absolutely slated saying I was very passive aggressive towards Leinster. But I don't think I was. But I'm just saying they're massive underachievers. But fair play to Northampton. Let's not ignore the fact Northampton had a very, very, very good game. Like I say, Pollock, Freeman, Finn Smith, even Alex Mitchell did all right. Is it Morley? Morley at fullback. Oh my goodness, absolute bomb diffuser. Aye, brilliant, brilliant game. Even the kicking game, Prendergast, having like James Lowe and Osborne chase the high ball. Morley had it covered, in particular for that try for Henry Pollock. That was a hell of a kick and hell of a contest. One recycled breakdown, bang, Pollock through, score. Completely against the run of play. Same with a few of the tries, though, to be honest. Another kick there where managed to gather back in field to Finn Smith. Cracking line, stabbed it through for Freeman and it bounced perfectly for Freeman. This was in the first half as well. Honestly, like some of the tries were phenomenal. Like I say, Freeman hat-trick. Who scores a hat-trick in a semi-final against Leinster? Unreal. But like you say, players having off days. In attack though, like 34 points to scored. You've got to be a decent team to score 34 points against any team in a semi-final. But equally, you shouldn't be conceding 37 as well. But that might be the downfall for Northampton, conceding 34, going to the final against who we'll discuss in just a moment, played a very, very good team and managed to keep them out for most of the game, being perfectly honest, if you ask me. So, yeah, that's all I've got to really say about that. Unlucky at Leinster, you got further than most teams, but at the end of the day, bottlers again, needless to say.
So we got enough shit last week. We need to move on. And we can move on to the other game that was on Saturday, and that was Edinburgh hosting Bath, the return of Finn Russell.
Yep.
To not Murrayfield, but the Hive. So it's like it's there. It's in the distance. It's just you're playing there.
Yeah.
Just there, but not actually there.
I don't think it fazed them one bit.
I think having it in the Hive definitely suited Edinburgh. I think that would be fair to say.
No, definitely the home advantage and everything. Like there's a really good atmosphere going there. I was speaking to some people about getting tickets. They couldn't get near. Do you know the only way somebody managed to get tickets, which was like literally even well in advance, it wasn't not because of resale, because the resale would have just been unreal, insane to get. Is you had to get a VIP box. And that's the only way he managed to get tickets. Spent a fortune, but I would say it'd be worth it. It would have been some spectacle to go watch. I mean, the Bath side just now, and again, like absolute superstars in both teams. What I will say is some of the superstars I feel didn't really turn up for Edinburgh. I think a few folk might agree. How do you think Darcy Graham went on Saturday?
I thought he could have played better. Having said that, I didn't think he had a terrible game. It's more the style of rugby that Edinburgh play.
Yeah, actually, good, fair point. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that the Edinburgh boys, this being their first semi-final in 10 years at home, there is no doubt in my mind they would have left everything on the pitch. And to be honest, like I said to you off camera, I think it wasn't until the last quarter when Alfie Barbary came on and really just swung the game for Bath.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you think you're breaking up a little bit there, so hopefully you can hear me? But do you think that's what Edinburgh maybe lack? Is that a little bit of depth, possibly? Because I mean, Alfie Barbary to come off the bench that's pretty catastrophic. Being honest, he would probably start for Edinburgh. Yeah, being honest, and the fact he's coming off the bench when you've got Underhill, Miles Reid, the prettiest man in rugby playing for Bath and another team. It's like, yeah, absolute cannon fodder coming off. I seen it. I heard this thing. I must have missed it. I must have been away having a shit or something during the match. But I heard Jamie Ritchie was having some fisticuffs with Sam Underhill or something. I've seen a lot of thing about that, but I genuinely missed it. Maybe it's just shite, but I wouldn't put it past him. Being Jamie Ritchie, bit of a fiery character. But
yeah, no, I mean, the only names that come to mind would maybe be Buffelli and Van der Merwe. Other than that, I'm struggling to think much more players immediately to my mind that would be starting for Edinburgh in their respective positions.
Fair enough. It was a bit like was quite like you say. It wasn't one-sided, but going into the game and look back on the predictions, I really felt that Edinburgh were going to be hurting quite early on. I thought it was going to be the Russell show, but I think it was Bath as a collective being brutal.
Bath's discipline was pretty shocking to begin with. I think it was 2 sin bins in the first half. Could be wrong.
Glanville's yellow card for the penalty try. That was right enough. That was spot on. So that gives, I mean, yeah, it's the fight margins. But did Edinburgh capitalise on that? They were very, come half time, it was 10 points to 12. So a very close game. They stayed in the game. That's what I'm trying to say. And even, like I say, it wasn't until quite late on is when Bath actually proper pulled away, when Edinburgh maybe started to chase the game a little bit much. But they had to. They were forced to. It's Cup of Rugby. You've got to go for it at the end of the day.
It's almost like, Zav, you're saying what I predicted last week, that Bath would run away and outscore Edinburgh in the game.
Well done, Andy. That's one prediction you got right this weekend. You can't say much about the other ones, can you? Oi!
Hey!
Going up. Okay then, right. But we'll go into Sunday's games.
We can go into Sunday's games, and we will start off with Leon beating Racing 92 in the other semi-final of the Challenge Cup.
Going in. This is the one game I never catched, to be honest. I'm kind of gutted, to be honest, because I was bigging up Racing. They were just so much better. There's so much more key players and established, well-known players. And then they went and lost 29-15 or something along roughly like that. I know Farrell got injured. I can't really say too much about this game, being brutally honest. I know Farrell got injured quite early on, which again, Farrell. To be fair to him, Farrell can be quite a big game player. He's one of the folk that you would rely on if you needed somebody to slot a couple of points to stay in a game or get back in a game. He'll be one of the top names on my list to slot those kind of points and actually be a player to get you back into a game. So big missing Farrell, but they do have Lancaster that can come on. Whether or not Lancaster start at 10 and Farrell's at 12, I generally don't know. Like I say, I completely missed the game, so I can't really comment on it. Did you catch much of it? Because to be honest, it was the one game that if I was to miss, it would be that one.
Yeah, I had a dreadful night's sleep on the ferry, so sadly I didn't catch it. We'll say though, I caught the highlights. Leon Stadium is pretty fucking cool. Never seen it before.
What was nice about it?
Well, it's just something different, you know. I mean, you go from I don't know, the AVIVA National Stadium to the Hive, a small, compact little cauldron, and then the Leon Stadium is something completely different. So yeah, I did think that by the looks of it, it was quite a bit of an arm wrestle, and then in the second half, Leon got their lead and just bet Racing into submission.
Fair points. I think it would be. I literally just waiting to say that was the shock of the round, but 100% not, because Northampton went and beat Leinster at the AVIVA. But
that's a different competition, though.
But I thought I was saying using it as being a collective. Never mind. But it definitely was a shock. Even albeit it was at Leon, still thought Racing would have pulled away. Now, back in the day, Racing were the best team in not just Europe, but definitely French league, but also Europe. But they were so destructive. When they just saw so many superstars. They still got superstars, but just not as many. I think the kind of rise of Toulouse in Bordeaux, those two teams in particular this season is kind of knocked their sales a little bit, but it happens. Some teams go through waves like that, but that's just the way it goes. Well done to Leon for making it through. I was well wrong with that. I think I said Racing by 15 points or something. That couldn't be any further away from the truth there. But onto what I would say for a purist kind of point of view, based off the tries that were scored and whatnot, the best game of the round, and I'm putting that above Leinster vs Northampton, mainly because I think this, I wouldn't say equally, no, it wasn't as big an upset, but I think the favourites to win the whole thing were to lose, and they got knocked off their saddle by Bordeaux. Now, 35 points to 18, correct me if I'm wrong, or something along those lines. I watched the game, had a nice burger in hand, a nice little lamb kebab skewer in hand, May Day weekend. So I was
Yeah,
watching
I
the
thought
game.
you said something else there with the kebabs, so.
Oh. Right, excellent. So, watching the game, again, from the off, I generally felt Bordeaux were the better team for about a good 80% of that game, if not more. Bielberry, stand-up player again, 2 tries. Try from not the kick-off, but from the second half kick-off. Did you see that try?
I
Absolute
did. That
vintage.
was. Wow. Like, that was sexual. That was how good that was.
Questionable defending at times, but at the same time, just vintage. That's what, if you show somebody a video and say that's how rugby's played, that's going to make somebody excited about rugby. Same with name slipped away from me. The Pacific Islander number 8, he scored a wonder try as well. Not just him, he finished it off, but just the build-up play, just mental. What's his name? It's got to come
Yeah,
back.
that's.
Probably not, but yeah.
Continue on.
Right,
No, continue on, I'm saying.
back to the point. Like I said before, Bordeaux's team, the backs are just catastrophic. They're literally international back line. Toulouse aren't too bad either. I was a little bit miffed why Chocobar has never started for Toulouse. I was a little bit confused on that one. I thought he probably would have started. He came on. He made a fair difference. Made a bit of an impact. In tarmac, I feel it was a ghost for most of the game. Jalibert, $1 million, absolute $1 million. I said, I know I've not evidence to say this, but I'll say this live here. I said before the game, I generally think Jalibert is a better fly half than in tarmac. But the fact that Dupont and Tarmac play at club level gives them that kind of edge for the international side. But I wouldn't mind even like if Dupont didn't exist, or for just now, if Dupont's injured, Luku and Jalibert play at club level very well together. Would that not be a better suited partnership than having Tarmac and Luku in like I say the French setup just now? Maybe Jalibert is better suited to it. I generally think Jalibert is a better player, better runner with the ball. Is a bit more creative. Okay, maybe Tarmac's more of a general in a way. The kicking game, I think, is quite evenly matched, being honest. From the boot, from the tee, Jalibert missed 3 from the same side, which is when you're on the stakes and the lines like it was. He was lucky, in a way, lucky that Bordeaux won so convincingly, because if it was a closer game, that could have been the fine margins, which meant Bordeaux could have lost. But like I say, though, like double the points ahead, 35-18, so they were quite out of sight. So he was, in that sense, he was lucky. But I'm sure he's been told by his kicking coach that he needs to get out there the next morning practice on that boot, because it was poor.
Yeah, but then if you were to have, say, if you're on about the France halfback partnership, you wouldn't worry about goal kicking so long as Thomas Ramos isn't injured.
No, but I'm saying, but in terms of the game on Saturday, I'm meaning like the fact he missed 3.
Oh, yeah.
A bit closer. No, you're right. Ramos would be kicking all day every day of the week. Ramos was quite. Was Ramos even playing? That's what I'm trying to think. Like, I generally can't remember like seeing. I think
Is he
Bordeaux
not
have.
injured? Because I had a couple lots to it 14, and then I was like, oh, there's nobody in the back line for Toulouse I recognise other than him.
Yeah. Like I say, like I know Kinghorn was injured. He was out. You had Dupont out injured. So and then Ramos maybe he was. So again, like missing key boys like that makes a big difference, especially when you got like a back line or like a back two wingers of Bielberry and Penot, like the 2 best wingers in the world at the moment, in my opinion, on each wing at club level as well. Unreal. And again, Penot never had a quiet game. He just went about his business just like he does. Just you never has a game worse than maybe like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. He's always had like a 7 or 8 out of 10, if not better. He's just one of those guys. 6'4", huge for a winger, really tall. And I'm trying to think if his Penal actually scored or not. I can't remember. Tell you somebody who think had a shit game. Our boy Miafu or whatever, plays for France, plays for Toulouse. Miafu. I actually think he's a Kiwi. He was born in Australia, played his rugby in Australia till he moved over. But
God, touchy subject.
on the on the on the flip side, I think we had a really good game. Was do you know Big Ben, the captain of Tonga, Ben Tamafuna? He's like the 150 kilo prop.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He was playing for Bordeaux, playing for Arsenal at one point not long ago, but he's playing for Bordeaux. Came off the bench. He actually even won a turnover quite late on in the game, which then Bordeaux eventually then scored. But I scored like a try by getting off the pitch and scoring a try there from. So big game player if you ask me. Big Ben Tamafuna. But fair play to him. Getting over for a jackal of like 140 kilos. Whew, that's some going, like some flexibility for a big lad. But no, fair play to Bordeaux. I generally think they deserve to win. I 100% think they deserve to win. 35 points to 18. The final will be Bordeaux vs Northampton. And both finals are at Cardiff at the Principality Stadium, I believe. So is one going to be on the Saturday, one on the Sunday? How does it
Yes,
work?
so rugby fans from Wales will be able to go and see their team lift a trophy for a change.
Their team, A team.
Well, not a team lift a trophy. Just going, way, yeah.
It's been a. To be fair, how Andy, how can we speak? When was the last time Scotland won something of significance? I don't see. I don't see a cup.
We're reigning defending Five Nations champions. I don't care what anybody says.
To be fair, yeah, nobody's won the Five Nations since. To be fair, so I guess I'd say.
But going back to this weekend, and I said this to you on WhatsApp. Now, there's obviously a lot of chatter around the Lions. Doris, an hour ago, it's emerged on BBC Sport that he is injured and could potentially be out for the Lions tour. I mean, I have to say, between Bath and Northampton, I mean, it's a lot of URC fans, such as myself. A lot of the time, I'm quite dismissive of the Premiership, but with how they've played and performed in Europe, especially in the last few rounds, it's hard to look past so quickly all these English players that would be in contention. I don't just treat the English Premiership with such a level of contempt, I think is what I'm trying to say in regards to any English players making it for line selection.
To be honest, I generally think Bernardo would have started for the Lions instead of Doris, or should be. If I was picking the team, because Andy Farrell would be Doris, but I generally think should be starting over Doris anyway. So the fact the Doris is always going to be going. Like even if he gets back, like if he's not back in time, should I say, he'll go if he gets fit. Yeah, like as like a late like bolter, if you like. I do fully believe that. But like I say, Bernardo, in my opinion, would be the kind of go-to guy. I don't know who you'd take on the tour initially if Doris isn't going though. Who would you say like would be like the obvious replacement for Doris?
At number 8.
Yeah, I've got one in mind. But if I've got two. But I think one might be going anyway.
Well, I immediately think Jack Dempsey, but not as a replacement, just somebody that would take his place on the tour, the one in and one out.
My thinking was Jack Dempsey, but here's a rogue one, which you might disagree with. Tlupi Falatau.
No, just
Do you
no.
see how influential he was? How much better Wales played when he was actually on the park? He's he's got Lions experience. He's played at the top level. I'm telling you, Tlupi Falatau's still got time left. He's okay, maybe he's a yard slower, but generally experience, not like experience, actually like just up skill set, unreal physicality, the lot.
For lack of a better examples of, Johnny Sexton was not picked to go to South Africa 4 years ago, so that logic is out of the window in this occasion.
Yeah, but he should have. As Warren Gatland in charge of that, and Sexton should have went. Should have.
Oh.
He really should have. But against Andy Farrell's maybe a bit more rational than Warren Gatland. I can't believe Warren Gatland got the Lions coaching job. What was it? Three terms was it?
3.
That's honestly, I'm in shock about that. How many did he win? He won the Australia one, lost
The All Blacks one was a draw.
and then lost the South Africa one.
and he was fortunate with how South Africa was due to their like the cycle of them evolving their rugby and like the fashion of Warren Ball still just keeping in touch at the elite level by the very end.
Well, I remember from Russell on another rugby pod. I'm not going to name the rugby podcast that he was on, but a rugby podcast, Andy. So, and he was saying about how he would to change the tactics in that for the South Africa tour. But it was either wasn't his place to say, or he got shut down quite quickly, so he just kind of kept quiet. But he definitely wanted to play differently. So I think Russell will make a cracking coach when he's older. Generally, he just knows rugby.
Yeah, I mean, similar to like say a lot of players that maybe had like an off Six Nations. Russell has been on fire at club level, at near enough the highest of club level since the Six Nations. I mean, another one that comes to mind for me is Van de Fleer. He had quite a not a lousy, but certainly not a standout Six Nations either. I mean, the Six Nations this year in general, unless you were French, nothing out of the ordinary happened. You know.
No, I agree. But no, I thought that I just remember Russell saying that. I just kind of think, in terms of like coaching, like he'll be on the tour, and between him and Sexton, I'm sure they'll be discussing lots of tactics. And I generally think Sexton will take a lot of what he's got to say on board as well. So I think we'll see a bit of dynamism, which I think will suit. Finn Smith can play with a bit of dynamism, but I think that's where Prendergast will get unstuck if Prendergast is on the tour, which I think he will be. But he'll get a bit stuck there because, again, he's very much a system-based player, in my opinion. But you can disagree in the comments. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I just think he suits the system, and when it's 5 and not unstoppable. But if it does go wrong, it's like, what do you do? He's not got that kind of game experience yet. Just to clear that up before we hate in the comments again. Okay, right. That's everything. Predictions for the final for the respective cups.
I mean, you'd have to put. Well, I would have to put my money on Bath and probably then Bordeaux. I would say.
I don't want to be boring, but I'd probably say the same.
Mm.
You know, so I think like the Northampton will put up a fight again, but against Bordeaux it will be close. But I just think just Bordeaux. It's got to be too strong.
It will also depend on injuries. I mean, we've said it a lot for this round. Injuries have really hampered, along with the home advantage. You know, it makes such a difference if you've got a fully fit team and if you've got the home advantage. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the links in the description on Twitter. Keep on subscribing on YouTube, and also check out our stuff on TikTok.
For sure. At Think Rugby, at Andy Moore. You know where to find us. Give us a follow, give us a like, give us a share. Thank you very much, guys. See you in the next
Cheers, right.